All right, just want to show quick, easy map, and since I'm streaming I don't want to go too crazy and get myself killed. So we'll just show you what kind of like the gameplay loop looks like. Hey guys, it's Crazy here. I wanted to go over build update. I've been working on Ogre Arrow a lot, along with my buddy Lee here in Discord constantly. So I'll go over both of what we're doing. He's doing something a little bit different, so it's perfect. And let's just get into it real quick. So I'll show you guys what's up. So a lot of the build is based around a few things. We'll go over a few of the uniques we're using first. First one is went with Leo's Footsteps. I've seen a lot of people have been using the movement speed amplification boots, even though they don't do anything for their build, which I figured I'd address that to help people out. So the movement speed amplification boots, they're great. And if you look at these boots, these don't really have any movement speed on them, but their implicit is movement speed amp, and it's a pretty significant amount. So I went with that because I wanted that, but also the maximization chance on these, if you see, massive. You can get 15% maximized, and that's triple and double. If anybody that doesn't understand how that works, if it says double maximized, it's only double. If it's triple, it's only triple. Maximization chance, though, that means both. So really powerful effect here. You got maximized damage increase. You get the versatility effect. You get up to 3 movement skill rune max use, and you get some dodge rate. So when you get to this box in your season journey, pretty good choice to go with poison arrow, not poison arrow, but to go with ogre arrow here. Additional poison damage on every hit with this. Get extra poison damage. One of the big things here is the 10% maximization chance, and then resource cost dampening and the mana back on every hit. So right off the bat, all of this stuff seems pretty good. But what will really surprise you when you attach this to your character is that 46 mana back on every hit. Pretty much takes care of any mana problem you have, and you instantly go back to full mana constantly, especially if you have a skill that hits often, and Ogre Arrow does. The next thing I really like about this neck is that whenever you use Poison Area, and you get it to go off, it's 50% maximized damage, 20% poison damage amp, and damage taken 15% decrease. Don't worry about these other buffs you see here. This is just kind of like what we went with. But yeah, attack speed's always good, element resist strike damage, and attack critical, if you're wondering what's on here. But the way this works, especially because poison area is a skill that's kind of weird. Let's go look at the normal poison area. Okay. So poison area here, it's mainly a spell, so you're not trying to really scale this too much unless you want to attach it to Ogre Arrow or whatnot. But it's a 30-second cooldown, and how we get past that, because you need it up at all times, is I'd like to awaken it with extra 2 use count. That's Verity. And then we attached it to Illusion Hook here. An Illusion Hook is attached to spell activation on hit, which, out of all the activation on hits, this is the one that will give you 85% skill rune cooldown dampening. So you're able to cool down this rune. And we were able to get it with time acceleration and spell activation on hit down to a 2-second cooldown. And you get 3 uses, and it works perfect with how the build's supposed to be. So every 3 seconds, we need to be doing a movement skill. So we have multiple movement skills to make sure they're always up. The boots give you maximization chance, I was just showing you, every time you use a movement skill. So if you get this down to about 2.5 to 3 second cooldown, you can guarantee you're always going to have it up when you're doing all of your damage and when you're moving from pack to pack. We'll go into more of the skill tree in just 1 second. I just want to go over the uniques that we're using so that you understand kind of why the build's the way it is and why we're doing what we're doing. So another really popular unique, other than this transcendent surging knowledge for me, because this worked out pretty well, uh, is the 3 hoops, and this is mainly because of the stats you get from this. A high rolled 3 hoops allows you to get pretty good amount of stats, and allows you to get a bunch of different effects from your zodiac tree and whatnot. And then with this season to go with the stat rings and whatnot, we got the Spica's Regret here, which is a really strong helm. You can get it very easily. The pirates sell it to you through their boxes. I mean, the chances of you getting this throughout the season is almost guaranteed. And it doubles the increased zodiac stats. What that means is your stats in here, whatever this says, is what it's doubling. So you're getting more mana, more barrier, more hit rate, more dodge, more HP, more armor per point that you put in. So pretty strong helm. Other than that, this is a pretty popular chest because you get to have the double wind veil effect. Not required really for the build or anything. Only things that really are required to make this really fun is the Surging Knowledge necklace, which is part of, if you're doing the season event, you will get it. The Spica's helm is not required, but that's about it. Really just the Surging Transcendent necklace. And I highly recommend, and this is only because the box doesn't really offer too much more for us, is this Leo's Footsteps. Now, if you don't like the hop around gameplay, you can go for maybe the belt. I'll show you what that is here in a moment, but for me, I highly enjoy how this works. So first off, just to understand how the build works, every 3 seconds, we move, and we use a movement skill, and we get the buff from here. And then whenever you use your movement skill, you throw out Chain Hook, or however you're activating your poison area, and then you're always getting this buff. So you're having 100% uptime of both of these. And now we go over to our Zodiac. Kind of show you why. If you show here, movement skill. Every time you do a movement skill, falcons come flying out of your body, so that's kind of cool. And then you get 30% damage amp for 3 seconds upon using a movement skill. And this coincides perfectly with everything we're using, because everything has to be, you just move every 3 seconds as long as you're using a movement skill. You're getting those buffs. And the chances of you being able to use the movement skill at all times really high, especially with those boots, and then like something like trick shot or any of those skills that are attack skills. When they move, they all have a really high use count. Makes it very easy to be able to just constantly move. So let's go over the rest of the skills here. First off, to go with the necklace still, there's the poison area here. We have it attached to time acceleration, spell activation on hit, and illusion hook. I chose illusion hook for my skill because, first off, I highly like illusion hook. I just like how it works. I like that every time you use it, pulls the creatures in. When it pulls them in, ignores their enemy dodge rate, which is great. Pulls them in front of you, dampens their attack speed, their movement speed, and then we go ahead and awaken it for the pain effect. And this is just an easy way for me to get pain effect on my build. Along with doing that, one thing I like to do with illusion hook a lot is just throw cut in here. As long as you can keep the enemy bleeding, which cut's pretty easy to keep up with just illusion hook alone. But there's other methods we can use. You get an even greater effect where you remove their movement speed even further, and you make them take more damage. So just as many combos for as little investment as possible. Now, for our enhanced skill, which anybody who's kind of new, you always want to attack enhanced skill with your build. We're using marksman because you get the pierce count. And one thing to let you know about this is the higher enhanced effect you get, the more pierce count you will get, along with your projectile and hit rate. So really, really powerful enhanced skill. It's not attached right now, but eventually we're going to have that attached to this totem activation once we roll it correctly. Every time we use this, it's going to activate the totem. Pretty staple. A lot of people do this, so definitely worth using. And then if you look at the links, when you're first starting the game, I would stick with just time acceleration and increased duration. Eventually, once you get the cooldown on this and the duration up high enough, through gear and through your link runes, you can move over to decrease duration. And what that does is increase the skill effect of it dramatically. So if you see it's like 202 projectile damage, take that out, it goes down to 155 and only 3 pierce count. So this is a really easy way to increase the pretty much the potency of any kind of enhanced skill, anything that can use decreased duration. Using a Shout of Provocation. Shout of Provocation is like one of my favorite shouts, mainly using this for the armor amplification, because once again, we are in hardcore, and you also get damage every time you do that. We did have it attached to Trick Shot Verity for quite a while, but I needed more room on my tree, and the easiest way to kind of move everything around was just to throw buff activation when hit. And then, without even having time acceleration or duration, these shout runes are strong enough to kind of keep you in the loop of where you're almost having it up at a permanent uptime. Pretty easy. Now some runes I attached to it. Hush Shout, cooldown reduction. This one's giving us the rune effect. And then Shout of Power, giving us uplift effect and duration on the shout. And then I went with Quick Shot. Now this is a little bit too much attack speed. We don't really need all this. You can switch these out if you want. I'm mainly using them for the skill rune cooldown and the duration on them. It's not really even for their effect. I just want more skill rune cooldown. Trick Shot. I highly recommend using Trick Shot. There's a bunch of different ways you can awaken this. If you go ahead and look right here, you can gain acceleration effect. Very nice. Inflict Disturb every single time you hit, and it gets a higher AoE. We went the Verity just because I was needing this max use count. Once you get Leo's Boots, I'd probably spec out of Verity, or not even get Verity at all, and go with either the Disturb effect or the acceleration effect, depending on what you need. Now, down to Ogre Arrow. The Awakening we went with was the extra projectile count with the projectile damage. So getting projectile count on Ogre Arrow is very difficult. Almost nothing on the tree works. If you find something that says increases projectile count outside of Ogre Arrow, it does not work on it. I think the only thing that may work on it is Colossus, but I haven't actually tested that. It's probably the best Awakening just because getting projectile count is so tough. And to kind of verify that, the Shadow Archer, the best Awakening I think for Shadow Archer is the damage amplification because it's massive, but the +2 projectile count just doesn't work with it. So what I went with is I went with the chance to summon double Shadow Archers on hit without having the cooldown here, and the extra attack speed because I needed attack speed when I was going through the campaign. It might be best to go with the Verity one, or if you need like this attack, critical, and projectile damage, you can go with that. But that projectile amplification is just massive, even if you're not getting the +2 projectile count. So if you're planning on using this with a few different skills, a lot of other skills like that projectile, so go ahead and get this one. I went with this one just because I wanted to try out that attack speed and see how many Shadow Archers I can get out at once. Just to kind of go over how Shadow Archer works. One other thing with Shadow Archer, if you look at what it says, cannot be linked with trigger link runes. So your option is to either use Shadow Archer or to use another skill that you can link with it. Making it a little bit easier for myself, I just went with Shadow Archer, and I also think it does pretty good damage. Other link runes here. Pierce Wound. Even though it does say armor penetration, we're full poison build, these pierce count, along with the damage amp per pierce on hit, very powerful. Piercing is another one that I think is just recommended and you should use. The damage amplification per piercing count, really powerful, and you're just going to keep scaling piercing count the entire time you're playing this. Your last few runes are kind of up to you. If you want to do physical conversion, in my last video I said, go ahead, use physical conversion, it's great. If you're going to stick with extract poison energy is very powerful. Instead of just giving you the poison energy effect, you're getting all of these benefits here. You're getting increased attack speed, poison damage taken dampening, poison damage amplification, and some of the big ones you don't think about right off the bat is the venom rate and the blind rate. The blind and venom rate, this is very powerful per poison energy, and it makes it easy to get your venom rate up all the time. Last one here is the Awoken for being able to inflict venom, deadly poison. I think deadly poison is a pretty powerful amplification for anytime you're using any poison skill. So I kind of recommend it on any of them if you can. And then the last link rune is just Mana Storm. You could replace this with Strike. There's all sorts of different skills if you don't want to use Mana Storm, especially if the resource cost is a little heavy for you before you get the neck. But, I mean, since we're doing poison, the Strike and the dot amplification is just kind of a no-brainer. So that's Ogre Arrow. That's our poison area that we're using here. And then kind of went over the Shadow Provocation thing. And then our trick shot. So the last few things we're using here is just auras. And then our enhance skill. So Barksman's very powerful. You really want to enhance this as much as you can. And the ones that I recommend to go first with is just time acceleration, increased duration, and enhance effect. Attached to this is some of our defensive skills to live. I went with Sprint, attached to a buff activation when movement skill is used, and Tenacious Regeneration here. The reason why we're doing this is because it gives the maximum amount of cooldown for Tenacious Regeneration without having the rest of the links attached to it. So this is a 9-second cooldown, 6-second duration. This pretty much gives us a free potion every 9 seconds with that instant heal of 31% of our HP. Now I'm going to awaken Sprint to be immune to all status effects until the end of duration. And that's what I like about this, is when I know a boss is about to do some major move, I'll usually either activate this first so I get that extra HP, or if I've already taken massive damage, I'd like to use Sprint to make sure I'm not going to get any more status effects, and then just start healing up really quickly. So this helps in hardcore, I think. Just Tenacious Regeneration without this setup is fine. You don't have to have this. But Tenacious Regeneration I recommend, because we leech well enough with our weapon, but in between those times when a boss is doing some weird effect or they become immune to damage for a moment, you might have stood an effect or be burning. You know, something might have happened to your character. Tenacious Regeneration allows you to heal up even during those moments, so that's why I like to do that. Shadow Provocation, pretty powerful skill. You're getting the damage, you're getting the armor amplification, and keeping the cooldown is very easy just with Shout skill runes. Illusion Arrow. So let's go over our auras here. Illusion Arrow. I think in any bow build, you're getting all of these extra arrows that shoot out, and it's just great. How you use Illusion Arrow, though, is I wouldn't try to use it for damage. Using it for damage is a little bit difficult, and it takes a lot of room on the tree. So using it for, like, putting up status effects is definitely better. Let's say you wanted to use Shock. We're using it for Shock right now. Continuous Shock, convert to lightning damage, the status effect enhancement, just to keep those effects up as long as possible. Really good for that. If you wanted to get another energy by using Illusion Arrow, that's fine. If you wanted to use it to bleed, there's so many different things you can do with Illusion Arrow. That's why I recommend using it. But when you do that, it makes me... The best awakening, I think, is using Origin with the debuff rate. That way you just have an easier time getting your debuff out. And that's kind of the whole point of Illusion Arrow. Now for our auras, I'm using Seal of Condensed Elements for right now. And this is more so because I just don't have this in my compendium yet. So I wanted to try it out. Seal of Striking seems to be a little bit stronger. So if you're looking for like the maximum damage seal, I'd go for Seal Striking. But if you just kind of want to scale the Falcon's damage with that element damage increase, and you just want to try this one out, you can go for it. But Seal Striking does seem to be a little bit stronger. Just like a heads up on that one. Seal of Dodge Verity. We use this mainly for that awakening, that 5% perfect dodge. It's pretty hard to find perfect dodge anywhere. And having that extra max attack and max spell dodge just increases the max amount you can actually dodge. That helps a lot. If you're using the chest piece, the new Achilles chest piece, I recommend definitely throwing Veil of Protection in your build. If you're not, really no reason to. It's a little bit hard to use, so I don't recommend it, especially if you're new. There's a lot of other defense enhanced skills you can use, like the element resist, the damage taken dampening. They're all pretty good. So that's all the main skills on the tree here. And that's how that works. So let's show you kind of how this works out. So we have Ogre Arrow going, Illusion Hook activates Poison Area, and we're constantly using movement skills. to keep all of our buffs up. Trying to keep our boots up at all times, every 3 seconds. Trying to get the damage amp from our tree every 3 seconds. It seems complicated, but it's actually a really easy playstyle. So you just kind of activate your buffs here. Go in, and let's say you have a group of creatures you're fighting against, right? Just walk up, boom. Throw that out. It's going to suck all of them into your character. You get the poison area effect on the ground. It's going to tick on everything, and it's going to give you all of your buffs. So really simple. Do that, and then I usually like to hop over the creatures or just jump right into them, just like I did there. It works just fine. And just start shooting. Keeping up your buffs is very simple. Let's say you have a really powerful pack of creatures. Just kind of hop around them and keep that poison area going. Make sure you're standing in it. So, really easy gameplay. One reason why I keep Trick Shot around is because of that. I really like the idea of when I pull everything into me, just hopping right over the top of them when they're still stuck back here and they can't move very quickly. Very nice. All right, so that was our skill tree there. Let's go over the rest of our gear real quick. As you see, I'm using Castor's Refraction just to get our crit rate up. If you decide to go with the maximized build, you're going to use a few different other things. This is one of the belts that seem to be pretty easy to get this season. I've seen a lot of people with them, and most likely you're going to get a drop, but in the meantime, you can use almost any belt you want. The reason why I'm using this, though, if you're wondering, sharpness effect is nice. Later, if we have enough crit, you probably want to change it over to Overpower. Enhanced skill, rune cooldown, recovery speed, and the rune effect. This is really hard to get on gear, so that's why I recommend this belt, because getting these two stats is just very tough. Usually you have to re-roll things like totem effect and whatnot for that. Of course, the Transcendent Surging Knowledge, which we just went over. Spica's Regret, mainly because it's new, and I just wanted to see what the doubled increased Zodiac stats was. And after I found out it just increases the bonuses from your stats, liked it even more. Crafted a pair of shoulders here. Tier 35, I really like this effect here. Enhanced potion and projectile damage. And the main thing we were looking for was that enhanced skill rune cooldown recovery speed and skill rune cooldown recovery speed here. I mean, you could go for effect or whatever you want, but I was looking for the cooldown recovery speed for now. Nice, easy. A couple of resist and some elemental damage. Still using Akila's Eternity. Might decide to craft a new chest soon. Just the Earth and Wind Veil effect is quite powerful. And you also get skill rune duration. This is a really easy chest to get. I think they even give you these in the starting boxes you get when you start the season. And so, not too hard to get. If you decide to craft a chest, though, I would definitely go for... I'll show you what we've been working on already. Something like this. Try to get enhanced skill rune duration, enhanced skill rune effect, some HP, a couple of resist. This will do you just fine until you try to do a little bit more high crafting. Other than that, any kind of gloves. A Hand of Monarch is a good idea about what gloves should be. You're getting your defenses. You're getting a little bit of element resist, HP, crit damage, attack speed, and these ones roll critical rate. They can roll all sorts of things. If you got to craft some gloves, what I would do is just kind of follow what you see on these. Getting these stats is going to do you well. Already went over these boots, but let's go over them. They don't have movement speed on them, but remember that the implicit has a huge amount of movement speed amplification. And then you're getting maximization chance and maximized damage. This is kind of the big reason for these. You're stacking even more maximization chance with this, so really, really powerful. As for the quiver here, really quite simple. Damage amp, crit damage, attack critical rate, attack speed, and damage. These are all things we want. So when you're crafting one of these, there's a lot of different options, including plus pierce count. But if you just need like a unique to throw on so you don't have to worry about crafting, because I was worried about crafting my weapon first, this will be just fine. Something like that. Something with these stats you can even craft. Now, something new to this season is the Soul Stone. No way to choose kind of what you're going to be getting right off the bat. So go ahead, go in, find a Soul Stone, and then you can work on it a little bit later. In this case, we found one that had poison damage amplification, and summons that poison wind moth. I thought that'd be pretty cool, so went with that one. Then let's go over our charms real quick. So for charms, we have Leos, Hamals, and Castors. We're really just looking for Vesper, Castor, and Leo. And the reason why is because Leo here, massive damage amp. Vesper, poison damage amp. And then Castor, pretty much getting a little bit of everything. Element resist, damage, damage taken decrease, and damage amplification. A little bit of perfect dodge as well. So I'd go all the way into Castors. You only need 190 in Leos, really. And then in Vesper, same thing. You only need to go down to 140, making it even easier. That way you can get all three effects. When it goes to the charms, I'll let you take a look real quick. This is what we've been working on. This is a good representation of like a charm that I would call almost a perfect charm. You want that crit rate, maximizing crit damage. Same here. This is our crit charm we're using. Just 3 different types of crits to scale. Damage, crit rate, maximized damage. So kind of see the same theme here. Looking for as much maximized and crit damage as possible. You don't really get to choose what you're going to be putting in this right away. These are very long and drawn out, complicated situation when you're trying to get your charms ready. So if you don't get what you want right off the bat, just keep farming. The end result of your charms, though, is you're trying to get something with maximization chance or something like strike damage amplification. Maximization chance is some of the strongest in the game, so if you can get that, go for it. And then here's what our Chaos Star looks like, kind of with the Leos and a Vesper Blessing. About to make a tier 9 one. And with the tier 9 one, kind of hoping to get some crit rate, crit damage, and maybe some maximized damage or something like that. In the meantime, this is a pretty good charm for now. Last thing to go over here before we look at the skill tree is our relics. So I went with Boreals, Sefdar, and Hamal to start with. Started with Hamal because I did need the poison resist, and you're only getting the passive from these. And I might want to get a little bit more dexterity to finish off my 500 stat for dexterity. Or if I want to get 500 in all 3 stats, this can help with that. And in the meantime, the poison right here, passive, is just perfect for our build. So nice and easy. There's a lot of options for relics, going from enhanced potion effects to double damage to just anything you can think of. So just kind of look over each one of them and figure out what you think might be excellent for your build. All of them have a different effect that can work out for you. Like if we go to Mirazetti here, if you've been playing for a long time, you like to use enhanced potion effects. I mean, this is great passive for you. Main one we went with is Boreal. Boreal allows me to switch to a little bit of a physical stun setup. And that helps with it. And I also like just getting the basic HP right here. Main reason we're doing this here is that overpower effect. So overpower is kind of hard to get on the tree now. You can't really get it in your Zodiac tree. You have to get it on a piece of gear or some other means. So I just went with having my relic do it for me for now. If you can get overpower from a different effect, I would recommend just foregoing this relic entirely and just using Sefdar as your main one. First off, you get Chaos Resist, which is great. And then this Mental Stimulation is a massive damage amplification. So if you want to do a lot of damage, go with something like Sefdar. But as I said, kind of try not the overpower effect here. All right. So real quickly, let's just go over the last thing is our Zodiac. So here's the Zodiac. want to see what each one does, I'll just really quickly jump on each one, let you see. While I'm going over them, go ahead and hit that view node information. So in this case, you get Alchemist and Gold Hunter here. While you're leveling, don't really need that 8% damage amp. The 50 mana is nice when you're leveling, but the damage, the HP dampening is a little harsh. So if you don't like that HP dampening, you do have to get enough skills to move on to the next skill tree. So you can just go into the projectile damage if you wanted to. Over here. This is an example of a tree that just overall is kind of easy to go through. You can get to the avenues however you want to. Don't necessarily have to start over here. And the reason why we have 8 points in it is because we're trying to activate this Zodiac Stone. So some of the things you see in the tree is activating a Zodiac Stone, and that's why we have so many points in it. Over here. We're just moving some points around recently, so I'm going to switch this out. In fact, let's just go ahead and do that real quick. Here. All right, so let's go over these again real quick. So elaborate attack. Went into elaborate attack. I didn't realize that this is a 10% base crit chance. Your critical chances don't scale this, but this is just a base crit chance. Base crit damage, very powerful. Right here, I really like this for our build. The on-hit effects are extremely powerful. And late game, you won't go into this one right off the bat, but late game, you can go ahead and go over here and start getting your damage amplification and your attack enhanced skill rune effects. Really powerful late game, but early game, it's kind of hard to keep your skill runes up long enough. So if you're just looking for a really quick burst of damage with the boss, this works fine. But this is more for when you're going in late game. Early game, what I would do is go over here and just spec into Bounty Hunter, down to Specialized in Elites, and then Group Defense. And the reason why is because it's hard to get damage taken decrease in your build. So go ahead and just try this out until you start getting those gear and then everything that's going to help you get that. Over here, you can go ahead and go from here when you first start off, down to Capable Person, into this damage amp. But then once again, once you start getting your shouts and everything in a good duration, I really like to go over here and go ahead and get the damage amplification and whatnot. That goes with your enhanced skill effects. And we're not really caring. We don't care too much about the damage amp. It's good, but you're mainly looking for the duration here and the effect on your skill runes. And then the reason why we stick in this tree is because right over here it gives you even more pierce count. Very nice. Down in this tree, there's a lot of options. I mean, just to give you like an idea, if you are able to get your bind, freeze, or stun off, definitely would go and spec into these damage amplification notes. They're extremely potent. If your stats are high enough, I would definitely go in and get this tree. This is a tree where late game, you're definitely going to try to get all of these damage amps. But in the meantime, a nice easy way to spec would just be go here. You can't go wrong with these bonuses. These bonuses help you really easy. All you have to have is that bow on. Very nice. This tree, same thing. I think that just having the two-handed bonuses, very easy to go for. And then if you're wondering what else I think is kind of good, I believe the strike damage here over to Thirst for Elements is nice. Along with this tree, if you decided you needed to, if you need a little bit of chaos resist and whatnot, this is pretty powerful as well. When it comes to this tree here, we're trying out some stun stuff. I'm trying to get some earth energy here. Might make another video about that. So we're just kind of spec'd into doing additional damage of physical of every hit. And that's kind of what this tree is there for. If you need to get some kind of effect, like if you're not a poison build and need to get some poison in there, if you want to get some cold in there, 5% damage of cold on every hit, that's what this tree I like to use for. Or the defensive nodes down here where you become immune to critical damage, more HP, or perfect dodge. So just kind of spec into what you need for what content you're doing at the time. Right now, we're testing out the stun. If you need some of that, like I said, cold damage, lightning, all of it can be done here. Really easy way to get those effects. Over here, went with the chance to do double maximize damage since we have so much in the tree already. All of these are pretty good. The fixed max poison energy is good and everything. I don't spec into this tree usually until I at least have a Zodiac Stone, just to give a little bit more effect. A lot of the other trees have more amp and whatnot than this does, but this is a good tree, especially if you have a decent Zodiac Stone, which I don't yet. So that's all your basic stuff. When it comes to your stats, your dexterity build, HP is mainly, strength is mainly because we're using quite a few strength skills in the tree too, and we needed to scale it. And then intelligence is to activate some of the nodes that we have. We weren't able to use some of the skills that we're using, including poison area, unless you have some intelligence. Now, when it comes to your zodiacs here, we've tested all of the trees that are good. If you want to, the low life build, it works out pretty good, but I would have a few uniques that enhance this first before you do that. This tree here seems to work pretty good if you want to. Though when you start scaling down it... Oh no, that's a trap one. Sorry about that. It's this one right here. This is more for bowgun than anything because of the max overheat stuff, but a lot of these, if you want to go into this, it does work for your build. The one we went with, though, the one I'm going to go over, is the Falcons. This is the best setup, I think, for Falcons if you don't need convert mana or the attack speed. Just let you see what we're using. And the final tree here. Now, when you're first going through maps and whatnot, I really like this side with the extra +2 Falcon Hunter projectiles. But because Ogre Arrow is a single target ability, and it does spread between targets, but it mainly kind of like locks on a target and just annihilates it. It's nice to have this 20% chance to gain the Falcon Hunter effect. And this just helps you with clearing, mainly. So later on, like if you don't need this, maybe you're fighting a boss or something, you could probably take like these 2 points out if you don't need these Falcons and go into the perfect dodge, or even the HP. And this is what Falcon Hunter does if someone's interested. Every time you use a movement skill, summons Falcons to track down and attack your enemies. And then we also have it so that every time we're attacking, we get it as well. Here's my Zodiac Stones, if you're wondering. Just kind of rolling whatever's going to help with as much as I'm doing. And that's pretty much your Zodiac tree. And that's going to be most of what we have for the build there. I know that was a little bit long. But let's just kind of check on what our buddy's doing here, because me and Lee have been working on a lot of different things. So his build setup, as you see, this is the quiver we're talking about. You can get plus pierce count. Very nice. Same boots. We already went over that. Kind of the same rings pretty much. He's getting his overpower effect from this ring. So that's very nice. And other than that, he's got the Transcendent chest. And let's go over the bow. We and him are both like the bow. The +2 pierce count, I think, is a little bit stronger than anything else. Just because of all of our links. Getting so many bonuses for that. Like I said, Castor and Leo, and then Vesper's probably the last one he's going to go for here. He's got some pretty good luck with those strike damage amp on his charms. In fact, let's look at those, because it's just beautiful. Same kind of setup as we were using, though. HP crit maximized for hardcore for sure. Crit maximized crit damage. Really powerful stuff. Using the same uniques almost. Pretty much everything's the same. But in the skill tree here, he's going for a little bit more armor. Same thing as I was talking about with the totem. Go ahead and throw a totem up. And totems die pretty quickly. So one awakening you can do is totem applies element damage taken increase for 3 seconds whenever it's destroyed by an enemy. So this allows you to throw the totem out, and if you notice it's dying a lot, before you do your awakening, go ahead and do this one. That way you get the effect no matter what. Other than that, the skill tree is almost exactly the same. We're using all the same link runes and everything, so pretty similar. Nothing more to go over there. Still activating with Illusion Hook in the poison area. So very similar situation going on there. One thing that's a lot different with his build, though, he's using Vesper right now and Seftar. And as I mentioned, I think Seftar is the strongest. Let's take a look at that right there. It's pretty nice as well. And then if you go to his skill tree, he's also using the... how come I can't move down there? Kind of weird. Pretty much the same skill tree setup, too. There's not too many different things. Looks like he's getting a little bit of shout effect there. And I'll just make sure there's nothing too different here. Yep, pretty much the same thing. And this is because we've tried quite a few different things, including going down to Malice here. This works just fine. Using the Malice build works just fine. It's just that there's a lot of stuff in here that's kind of only for melee builds. So it's kind of hard to justify going in here too much for people, but it does work pretty well. Especially if you're in hardcore and you want this Iron Will effect to instantly recover that HP. Pretty nice. Once again, I want to say the one big thing that's different here is the Lacrima. So if you go to the Lacrima here, he threw his Spica's Regret in here so he could craft a helmet. And then he's using Seftar's Longing. So Seftar's Longing allows you to throw out your Illusion Hook, stun everything, and then you get guaranteed critical hits. So he has a much higher crit chance for now, and this is just one of the metas right now. A lot of people are using Seftar's Longing. So if you do have one and you kind of want to use it with this build, I'd say go ahead. It's very powerful. You get the damage taken dampening, you throw out your Illusion Hook, which we're already using anyway, you stun everything, and then you're getting guaranteed critical hits. This allows you to even forego going crit if you wanted to. One thing on that is if you notice, he's gone crit with everything. He's really looking for crit as well. I think he's got it even on his charms. Yeah, even his charms has crit. So he's going crit still, but that shield does allow you to kind of like forego and get like a really big boost to your crit. Just wanted to show that to people in case someone did get that shield and they're like, man, kind of wanted to use this, but I want to use it with my bow. You can if you get a Lacrima for it. All right, and that's pretty much all the main build stuff.